Well, if we look at the EU, we actually have a new development agenda in the EU now, which is still proposed, so we have to wait this year, it's going to be formalised. It's called the Agenda for Change. So really, we're looking at agenda which is going more towards rights and also towards the private sector. So we have these two pillars of EU policy which they want to prioritise. And prioritisation is also going to be given to sub-Saharan Africa and to the neighbourhood. So we see these sort of regional differences. A last factor which we see in EU policy is this idea of differentiation, which is basically how should we deal with middle-income countries going forward? Should we continue our sort of traditional bilateral aid relationships, or should we look at more innovative types of relationships? And the European Commission proposals really propose quite a significant shift in the way we deal with middle-income countries. So these are the changes I see. I think that's a really good question. The development landscape has absolutely changed in terms of countries and in terms of recipient countries and in terms of donors and actors. If we look at non-DAC donors, so donors which aren't part of the traditional OECD DAC group, we see China not only emerging but establishing itself as a really significant donor. Brazil is increasing its flows, India. So we're seeing this sort of level of BRICS. We're also seeing lots more donors from sort of the less famous countries, like Nigeria is becoming quite an established donor as well. And that really changes the way that we look at and conceptualise development. It's not only a sort of north-south relationship now, it's very much a south-south relationship as well. I think we're not yet aware of most of the changes that are happening because it's happening now and there's going to be a big lag. If we look at sort of the crisis that hit in 2008, we saw that a lot of developing countries actually bounced back quite quickly from that, much quicker than we did in Europe. But now we're entering another year of sort of serious economic times. So how this will affect developing countries, have they got the capacity to bounce back like they did before, is a little bit uncertain. I mean, developing countries is a massive field, and if we look at, say, LDCs or LICs, we could expect that maybe they'll have less capacity to bounce back than middle-income countries, which seem to be on more of a secure footing now. The other factor is it's not just what's happening away with the crisis, but what's happening at home. And we see that austerity is now the accepted norm really in Europe. So we see lots of budget cuts, public pressure to for value for money, spend our finances wisely. So I think we will see more cuts to development funding going ahead, and particularly past 2015 MDG targets. I think that those cuts are going to continue.